The Historian's Survey. King Purandar of Mahendragiri was not only a sound administrator but also a great patron of art and literature. Seldom a day passed without some scholar, musician, artist, or poet being rewarded by him. One day, a renowned historian, Srikanta, visited his court. He was a man of great experience and learning. He had chosen the profession of writing histories of various countries. He visited a country, stayed there for a year, wrote its history, and received a reward from the king of the country. In this way, he had already covered 14 countries before coming to Mahendragiri. King Purandar received the historian affectionately and said, "You are welcome to enjoy my hospitality and write a history of my country. Whatever assistance you need will be put at your disposal." "Thank you, O King," said the historian, and then he told the king privately, "If you allow me to conduct myself as your friend and confidant, my work will be easy." The king had no objection to this. The historian lived in the palace and accompanied the king whenever the latter went out on a hunting expedition or for supervision of any work in his country. The king loved him for his wisdom and goodwill. Soon, all the people in the country understood that the historian had become a close friend of the king. The officers and the traders showed him great respect. He passed his time discussing issues or chatting with them. When a year was about to pass, the historian told the king, "My lord, I have almost completed writing the history of your country. I intend to hand it over to you soon." "Is it?" asked the king. "Can't I have a look at your manuscript as it is?" "Why not?" said the historian and presented his manuscript to the king. The king spent a good deal of time perusing the history, which was indeed very well written. The historian had given an authentic account of the origin and the development of the kingdom and had praised the people as innocent, the king as noble, and the officers as faithful. But at one place he had said, "Unfortunately, the rich traders of Mahendragiri were unworthy of this good country. They were dishonest and vain." The king, surprised, called the historian and said, "My friend, how did you make such an observation about the traders? I don't think that your impression is correct." "If my impression is not correct, my lord, I will have no hesitation to change the passage. But let me try to prove that I am not incorrect," said the historian. Next day, the historian met the top traders of the capital, one after another, and said, "The king desires to send as present a box full of most valuable jewels to the emperor. Can you give me the finest jewels you have? You will be paid for the goods which the king would retain. The traders, who were too eager to please the historian, for he was the king's best friend, handed over to him some of their costliest jewels. The historian made each one of them write down the number and description of the jewels he gave and made him put down his signature below the list. The next morning, the historian was not to be found. His personal servant whispered to others that he had left the country. It did not take long for the news to spread. By the time the king came to the court, already a number of traders were waiting for him. They complained in one voice, "Save us, O king, otherwise we are reduced to poverty. Your friend, the historian, has escaped after swindling us." Then they narrated all that had happened. The king was shocked, but a man with a big heart that he was, he assured the traders that they would be compensated for their loss and asked his minister to prepare separate lists of the jewels each trader gave to the historian. By midday, the lists were prepared. It was found that the whole royal treasury would be empty if the cost of the jewels were to be paid to the traders. Looking at the account, the king became very much pensive. Just then, the historian made his appearance in the court. The king's face brightened up. The historian smiled and asked, "Why are our good friends, the greatest traders of the country, have gathered here?" The traders hung their heads. The historian kept down a bag he was carrying on his back and said, "My lord, all the jewels I collected are here. Each packet contains a signed list of the jewels each trader gave me. You may now return the properties to their owners." The king, who had now got some scent of the historian's motive in enacting such a drama, wanted to compare the original lists with the fresh lists the traders had dictated to the minister. At that, the traders fell at his feet and confessed that they had highly exaggerated their claims. The king did not excuse them. Each one was fined according to the degree of his exaggeration before the jewels were returned to them. "Your observation was quite true," the king told the historian with a sigh. Completing his work, the historian left for another country with a heavy reward from King Purandar. Thank you for listening.